The cafe was buzzing with the usual morning crowd, coffee machines hissing, conversations blending into a soft hum, and the smell of fresh pastries in the air. She walked in, a tired single mom juggling a toddler in one arm and a tray of barely paid groceries in the other. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for a quiet spot, when she spotted a man sitting alone at a corner table. He had an air of calm confidence, dressed neatly, with a laptop open in front of him. Without knowing who he was, she hesitated for only a moment before asking, "Excuse me, sir, can we share your fries?" The man looked up, and his piercing eyes met hers. There was something about his presence, something she couldn't quite place. He smiled politely, but the warmth in his eyes hinted at stories untold. What she didn't know was that this stranger wasn't just anyone. He was a billionaire, someone who had the power to change her life in ways she could never imagine. As she settled across from him, nervous but hopeful, the cafe seemed to hold its breath. Would he say yes? Or would this ordinary request become the start of something extraordinary? The answer would soon unfold, but not before a twist that neither of them expected. As she nervously placed her tray on the table, her toddler tugged at her sleeve, hungry and fussy. She stole a quick glance at the man, wondering if she had overstepped. There was something calming about the way he nodded and gestured toward the fries, inviting her to sit. She didn't know his name, and he didn't ask hers. But for a brief moment, the world outside the cafe seemed to disappear. In truth, her life had been far from easy. Balancing 2 jobs, endless bills, and sleepless nights. She rarely had a moment for herself. Simple things, like sharing fries with a stranger, felt like tiny luxuries. And yet, sitting there, across from someone who radiated quiet confidence, she felt a strange mix of hope and fear. Could this meeting be just a random act of kindness, or something more? The man sipped his coffee slowly, eyes occasionally flicking to his laptop, as if weighing a decision he hadn't yet made. Something in the way he watched her suggested he saw more than she realized. Maybe he sensed her struggle, her resilience, and deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was about to change the course of her day, or maybe even her life. But the real story was only beginning. As they shared the fries and quiet conversation, the cafe noise seemed to fade around them. She tried to make small talk, asking about his work and commenting on the morning rush, but he gave only measured answers, careful not to reveal too much. There was a curiosity in his gaze, though an unspoken question about her life, about how a single mom managed to keep going despite everything. Meanwhile, her mind raced with worry. Could she afford the daycare fees next week? Would her car make it through the winter? Each problem felt heavier in the presence of someone who seemed to have everything. And yet, she hesitated to ask for help, pride mingling with embarrassment. Across the table, he watched her with an intensity that made her both uncomfortable and intrigued. There was something he wasn't saying, a side of his life hidden behind that calm, polite exterior. She wondered what kind of man would sit quietly, letting a stranger invade his personal space without judgment. Outside, the morning sun cast long shadows, and she realized the cafe had begun to fill with more customers. A little hand in hers tugged, reminding her that life never paused for quiet moments. And in that pause, both of them seemed to sense a tension. Neither could name a silent question. How far would this unexpected connection go, and what would it demand of them both? The cafe door swung open again, letting in a rush of cold air and the chatter of new customers, but neither of them noticed. She was distracted by the way he seemed to study her, not just her face, but the way she moved, the way she tried to keep her toddler calm while managing her own nerves. There was an intensity in his eyes that made her heart race, a mix of curiosity and something deeper she couldn't name. For his part, he felt a pull he hadn't experienced in years. People approached him all the time, friends, colleagues, strangers, but no one had ever spoken to him so honestly, so simply. Her request, so small and unassuming, had broken through the barriers he had carefully built around himself. And yet, he hesitated, aware of the power imbalance, unsure how much to reveal or how much to risk. A sudden spill of coffee near their table made her jump, and for a moment, their hands brushed. The air seemed charged, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Around them, the cafe hummed with life, but in that corner, time felt suspended. Her mind raced with questions, fears, and a flicker of hope she hadn't felt in months. And he, watching her, realized that this encounter could change more than just the morning. It could change everything. But just as the tension reached its peak, a phone buzzed from his pocket, breaking the fragile bubble around them. The message on the screen promised to shatter the moment completely, leaving both of them on the edge of a choice that could alter their lives forever. His hand froze over the phone, and she noticed the change in his expression, something tight, almost tense, replacing the calm he'd carried all morning. Curiosity mixed with unease. She glanced at the screen, catching only a glimpse of words that made her heart skip. Asterisk. Investor meeting in 30 minutes. Urgent, don't be late. He quickly slipped the phone back into his pocket, but the weight of it hung in the air like a storm cloud. She tried to hide her disappointment, the fragile connection they were forming suddenly threatened by the outside world. Her mind raced. Was this just another sign that their worlds were too different? But before she could speak, The cafe door opened again, and a sharply dressed woman swept in, scanning the room until her eyes landed on him. Her presence was commanding, her voice curt, as she called his name. He stiffened, a flicker of panic in his eyes, and she realized in that instant that the man she thought she was getting to know wasn't just any stranger. He had responsibilities, pressures, and secrets she couldn't yet imagine. Her toddler tugged at her sleeve again, and she tried to smile, but the tension was undeniable. The fries sat half-eaten, the cafe around them alive, but in that corner, the ordinary world they had shared felt fragile, like a soap bubble ready to burst. And just like that, the moment of connection she had hoped for now teetered on the edge of something far more complicated, and far more dangerous for her heart than she had ever anticipated. He took a deep breath, finally breaking the silence that had stretched between them like a taut wire. "I should tell you something," he said, his voice low but steady. She leaned in, her curiosity mixed with nervous anticipation. "I'm not just anyone at this cafe," he continued, pausing as if weighing his words. "I'm a billionaire, and I don't usually sit in a corner sharing fries with strangers." Her eyes widened, the tiny fries forgotten between them. For a moment, disbelief and awe collided, and she struggled to process what this revelation meant. Her mind raced. Could someone like him ever really care about someone like her? He smiled, sensing her hesitation, and added, "But there's something about you, about how you carry yourself, that I can't ignore." Just as the tension began to lift, his phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't work-related, it was a text from a charity foundation he secretly ran, asking for urgent assistance in helping struggling single parents in her city. He looked at her, eyes reflecting both hope and mischief. "Maybe fate isn't done with us yet," he said, offering her a chance to join him not just at that table, but in something bigger than either of them had expected. Her heart pounded as the cafe seemed to hold its breath. The ordinary morning transformed into a moment that promised new beginnings, yet hinted at surprises still waiting just around the corner. She blinked, letting the news sink in, and felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in months. The tension, the uncertainty, the exhaustion of her daily struggles, it all seemed to ease in that single moment. He reached across the table, offering a genuine smile, and she realized that life sometimes had a way of surprising you when you least expected it. Over the next few weeks, their connection deepened. He didn't just offer her opportunities or financial help. He listened, respected her boundaries, and encouraged her dreams. Together, they found ways to support her family while still honoring her independence. Her toddler laughed more freely, the heavy burdens of single parenthood lightened by a newfound sense of hope and security. Word spread about their unique friendship and partnership, inspiring others who were facing challenges of their own. People saw that kindness, honesty, and courage could create unexpected doors, and that one simple act asking to share fries could lead to life-changing moments. As she looked back on that ordinary morning in the cafe, she smiled at the thought of how a small gesture, a little courage, and a leap of faith had transformed her life. Sometimes, the simplest moments carry the power to change everything, and in that corner of the cafe, her story had only just begun.